Nigeria great in socio-economic frontiers. Plus, renewal of the Law African Growth and Opportunities Act as it affects balance of trade in focus. Thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International. I am Ifeanyi Okafor. President Muhammadu Buhari has terminated the appointment of the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Mr. Patrick Akpobolo-Kemi. The termination is with immediate effect. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, indicates that Mr. Akpobolo-Kemi is to hand over to the most senior officer in the agency until a new DG is appointed. Now, Nigeria says it will only support the use of nuclear technology for peaceful purposes and human development. President Muhammadu Buhari, who announced this while receiving the visiting Vice President of Iran, Mohammad Shariat Mardari, expressed support for the recent agreement between Iran and some world powers on its nuclear program. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Terrorism and insurgency. Details of the meeting held behind closed doors were not made public, and efforts by newsmen to extract information from General Burutai yielded this response.
We will give you as the time unfolds. I hope some of you will follow me to Damaturu to celebrate the Salah with the troops, so you get to know more of what we are doing. I'm going to see the troops at Damaturu.
Until his new appointment, the Army Chief was the commander of the multinational joint task force based in Jamina, Chad. Meanwhile, the meeting between President Buhari and Governor Udom Emmanuel of Akwa Ibom State centered on the activities of governance, the economy, and other issues of development in the oil-producing state.
Bad news is the problem of the gully erosion that we're having. If you watch the news very well in recent past, you could see a lot of interventions on those devastating menaces on some federal assets and federal roads that the state government had actually tried to intervene. On few occasions, major commercial activities almost got to a halt because a major federal road linking both the south side and the southeast collapsed due to gully erosion.
Governor Udom Emmanuel, who commended President Buhari for his forthrightness, particularly expressed delight at the president's disposition to genuine national aspirations.
You can actually see the way the president is welcoming all of us. He welcomes all of us as a father of the entire nation, not just, it has nothing to do with partisanship here. It's purely about the people, because you see, the nation is about the people, governance is about the people, democracy is about the people. So we are just focusing on one project. I think that's why you see us flow in this manner. The president is just as, open-minded as some of us who are actually focusing on governance and the people. And I'm sure within a short period, you see how a whole lot of things will improve to a much better level in the whole country.
The Akwa Ibom State Governor was elected on the platform of the PDP. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Well, that was actually Adamu Sambo's report, where President Muhammadu Buhari granted audience to the newly appointed Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tukur Burutai, and he also saw the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Udom Emmanuel. And now moving ahead, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the dissolution of the governing boards of federal parastatals, agencies and institutions with effect from Thursday, the 16th of July. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, indicates that the dissolution does not affect the federal executive bodies, but it covers administrative or technical committees of other similar organs established by the now dissolved board. Until the boards are reconstituted, chief executive officers of the affected parastatals, agencies and institutions are to refer all matters requiring attention of their boards to the President through the permanent secretaries of their supervising ministries. Now, the newly appointed Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tukur Burutai, took over from his predecessor, Lieutenant General Kenneth Minima, earlier in the day with a resolve to take the service to greater heights. This was at the handing and taking over ceremony held at the Nigerian Army Headquarters, Abuja. Defense correspondent Mohammed Abdul Kadri reports.
The handing and taking over parade followed an established regimented pattern in line with the military tradition. While the new Chief of Army Staff expressed his determination to confront headlong the internal security challenges, his predecessor said he has bequeathed a disciplined force.
I'm leaving behind an army that can hold its own against any adversary without batting an eyelid. An army that has vowed never again to concede any inch of Nigeria's territory to terrorists.
We make sure that discipline is maintained, and the high standard of discipline must be maintained by everybody.
Lowering and exchange of flags as well as inspection of guards climaxed the parade. It is a dawn of a new era in the annals of the Nigerian Army as the 20th Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tukur Buratai, a seasoned infantry officer, assumed the command of the 152-years-old service, which came into existence since 1863. From the Nigerian Army headquarters, Abuja, Muhammad Abdul Qadir, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari says he will expect assistance from several concerned countries in helping Nigeria become great in socio-economic frontiers. Speaking on efforts to diversify the economy with focus on agriculture and solid minerals development, he said he will recruit competent hands, including technocrats and from the private sector.
We understand our problem and we are planning and asking the cooperation of developed countries that have voluntarily offered to help us, not only in security, but again on employment. And I say the vicious circle is insecurity, unemployment, the economy, infrastructure, power especially, and so on, and then corruption. So this vicious circle, this party, APC, yeah, we have to tackle it because it's the most realistic way of getting Nigeria to bounce back as economically viable country.
Details on the program Towards a Greater Nigeria to be transmitted tonight on NTA Network service at 10 o'clock Nigerian time. International relations analysts have been commenting on President Muhammadu Buhari's scheduled visit to the United States, describing the development as timely and more likely to engender better relations between both countries. This was part of submission made by guests on NTA's program Good Morning Nigeria, which previewed the coming visit and its possible impact on the Nigerian polity. Oyeyemi Ajayi has details.
Relations between Nigeria and the United States dates back a long time and cuts across different spheres of life. Though at some point in the recent past, relationship between both countries was seemingly strained owing to some ideological differences, all that appears to be water under the bridge, with both countries now positioning for the future and the prospects it holds.
There was a time America was buying up to 25% of Nigeria's crude oil. Today, as we speak, we don't even know that they are no longer with us in oil business.
In terms of the Nigeria benefiting from the AGOA, I must say we have not, derived the type of benefit that the U.S. thought we could.
Recent invitation of President Muhammadu Buhari by the United States government is seen as an indication of the renewed commitment by both nations to push the frontiers of binational relationship and work for mutual interest.
The major issue we are talking about is the 3 Ds of strategic studies. When we talk about the 3 Ds, we are talking about is diplomatic, military, or development efforts. And today we are facing a very serious security problem in Nigeria, and we felt that these issues must be seriously exploited.
Some other guests on the program, however, said security, especially how to stop the Boko Haram insurgents, should be on the front burner and not same-sex marriage as proposed by the U.S. government.
I know very well that the president is a man of principle and very firm in his beliefs. Like we have been saying all along, the national interest of Nigeria is what really matters, and definitely equal sex relationship is not part of our own national interest.
Our law is definitely against that sort of lifestyle, and we hope the president will represent interest here by agreeing to this agreement.
Though the Nigerian-US relations has an output of $36 billion, the guests were of the view that Nigerians should exploit the vast resources in the country, as no country can grow while depending on other countries. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
4 United Kingdom parliamentarians of Nigerian heritage have pledged to lend support to further improve bilateral ties between Nigeria and United Kingdom. The members of the House of Commons made the commitment during their visit to the Nigerian High Commissioner in London, Alhaji Dalhatu Tafida. Bilkisu Abdurazak Odoye reports.
The members of parliament collectively pledged to play their parts in sustaining improved ties between Nigeria and the United Kingdom.
I think we in the UK Parliament feel the double honour of representing our constituencies and also the diaspora community. We look forward to strengthening ties between Nigeria and the United Kingdom.
Has a trade deficit now. It's highest now than it's ever been, really, since 1830. And so we need to be doing more trade with the outside world. But I actually think just fundamentally it is common sense for us to strengthen these ties. I never ever want to be going to Lagos or anywhere else again and to be told the Chinese are everywhere, where are the Brits? We have to be right in the middle of things in Nigeria.
I know that we have to open up debates within the UK, within Nigeria, within Africa. And we need people like yourself to be part of that. Obviously, it's our duty to make sure that money reaches the proper destination and it does the maximum amount of good for people in Nigeria.
Leader of the Conservative Party Eastern Constituency, Emmanuel Findoro Obase, also Director Africa House London, established to facilitate and strengthen trade ties between Africa and the UK, says this is a new era for Nigeria-UK relations. Dr. Dalhatu Tafida, who presented the MPs Chuka Umona, Helen Grant, Chi Onwura, and the new entrant to the House of Commons, Kate Osamo, with letters of commendation, urged them never to forget their Nigerian heritage and the pride that about 180 million Nigerians have in them.
We are there, your brothers and sisters are there, and one day somehow, if you don't go back, somebody from you would go back. And if you make the place better, it is something better for you and better for humanity as well.
In London, Bilkisu Abdurazak Odoye, NTA News.
Beyond the renewal of the Law on African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, as signed by President Obama last month, the Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Abuja branch, Odun Emaselu, says the issue of trade balance should also be of utmost concern. Chazala Mekie has details.
Established 14 years ago to expand U.S. trade and investment in sub-Saharan Africa, with about 6,400 products covered under AGOA from 39 African countries, including Nigeria. Some stakeholders are worried that while countries like Ghana and Lesotho have benefited, Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, is yet to get a good deal.
And not for reasons that the United States had put any hindrance in this process, but because Nigerian producers and exporters rather did not measure up to the expectation of the market because it's a competitive market.
Now, the U.S. actually did it as a privilege for some countries to help. But we have to make them understand what kind of help we actually need. Because they will be looking at, okay, we'll give you the opportunity to come together, let's sell. But the question is, what are we producing?
He frowns at the situation where America dictates the price of what they buy from Nigeria, but confident that with the cordial relationship enjoyed by the governments of U.S. and Nigeria, the government of U.S. should help in actual growth of Nigeria's trade.
If they really want to help us to build capacity, they should be more involved right from the bottom, helping with growth in the industrial sector, in the small businesses, in power especially.
We are now better in terms of competitiveness because we have enabling environment with laws backing them, government policies.
AGOA is a U.S. preferential trade program established to provide duty-free access to U.S. markets and vice versa for Africa. Chiazalam Ekiye, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria. More news after the break.
NTA International. This is where the news begins. Every breaking news and developments on the African continent.
Welcome to NTA International News. State House correspondent Hamza Musa.
In-depth news analysis and professional perspectives on all sides of the story.
Experts say the issue of
national energies and resources must be mobilized. Every day on NTA International, we take you inside Africa and the world.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Good to have you back. The Nigeria Police Force has signed a memorandum of understanding with the German Development Corporation. The agreement, among other things, is to advance the training and skill upgrade of police personnel, as well as support police reforms and border security. The Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, signed for the Nigerian police, while the country representative of GIZ signed for the German corporation. Mr. Arase said the MOU was a fallout of President Muhammadu Buhari's visit to Germany shortly after his inauguration to further strengthen the police and other security services' capacity to fight insurgency and other security challenges in the country.
We are glad you are going to intervene with us in terms of capacity building in the human rights, border patrols, issues of terrorism, investigation, crime scene management, and other areas where we think we will be able to collaborate. I can assure you that the police force, after the signing of this memorandum of understanding, will be looking forward to us, kickstarting this program, and it's going to be beneficial both to Germany and also to Nigeria.
IGP. The federal government has so far, under the Safe School initiative, transferred about 2,400 students from high-risk areas in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states to across 43 federal unity colleges across the country. Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mohammed Sani Sidi, stated this at the opening of a workshop organized by a group of journalists to review NEMA's intervention disaster management. Musbaudan Wahab reports.
Journalists and essentially media workers gathered at this event to be briefed on efforts of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in the wake of growing terrorist acts in northeast Nigeria. But more importantly, they hope to review these efforts in a bid to make contributions on how best to enhance NEMA's intervention efforts and boost its response mechanism. They are Journalists Against Disaster.
It's aimed at providing a platform for all relevant stakeholders in the disaster management to share such vital information and experience in line with duty, especially in the Northeast and internally displaced persons camps across the country.
For the intervention of NEMA and other relevant agencies in disaster management, it is a work in progress with challenges but with many achievements to show. The areas of priorities now are on improving the standard of living of internally displaced persons in designated camps, as well as reducing the number of inmates in the various camps across the country.
There has to be a concerted effort from all fronts to develop the social, economic, and environmental conditions of the Northeast.
And for IDP management to be efficient, NEMA says it must be driven across jurisdictions, sectors, disciplines and resources, which requires ownership and commitment of federal, state and local governments, civil society organizations and of the private sector. In Abuja, Musbao and Wahab, NT News.
Thanks, Musbao. The Primate Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, Most Reverend Nicholas Oko, has appealed to Nigerians to complement government's efforts in addressing the plight of internally displaced persons. He made the appeal when he visited internally displaced persons to donate relief materials at the new Kuchigoro camp, Abuja. Correspondent Obiageli Ugoke reports.
United Nations statistics shows that as of April 2015, over 3.3 million Nigerians are internally displaced and are currently taken aboard in various camps across the country.
We are living here, especially me. I have never seen this kind of situation that we are having since I was born.
Worried by this trend, concerned Nigerians and corporate organizations have continued to identify with the victims of insurgency through donations of life-saving and relief materials. Latest on the list is the Anglican Primate visit.
For the sake of humanity, which we all have in common, we must share what we have to reduce the level of their suffering, because the suffering is much.
He urged the youths amongst them to avoid indulging in social vices, but exercise patience as government is working hard to get them back to their homes. Obiageli Ugoke, NTA News.
Our Muslims the world over are marking the end of fasting in the month of Ramadan with Eid al-Fitr festival. In this report, Musa Babaliu takes a look at the significance of the festival and how it should be celebrated.
At the completion of fasting in the month of Ramadan comes Eid al-Fitr celebration, one of the main festivals of Islam, which is celebrated by all Muslims all over the world. The significance of this, as stated in the Islamic books and teachings, is for the faithful to thank Allah for the opportunity given them to worship in the month of Ramadan.
Completion of Ramadan will be marked by Eid celebration. Eid is a celebration period to symbolize the completion of Ramadan. Glorify Allah's name for the blessing of Ramadan that Allah has given you.
The ceremony starts early in the morning after the moon of Shawwal is sighted and announced by Islamic leader. This act of worship is generally held in a large open place and expected to be attended by all Muslims irrespective of their sex and age.
Even menstruating women should not be left behind in participation of Eid. She is not going to observe prayer, rather she should sit down, witness the supplications of the Muslims, the happiness of that day. Therefore she should not be left behind.
In a situation where the Eid al-Fitr festival falls on Friday, what happened to the usual Friday prayers?
If you attend Eid prayer, it is not compulsory on you to attend Friday prayer. However, you must observe Zuhur prayer.
After the prayers, ceremonies are observed, though Islamic clerics want that it should be in accordance with the teachings and tradition of the Prophet. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Sultanate Council of Sokoto has requested the Muslim community to look out for the new moon of Shawwal 1436 AH, Thursday, the 16th of July. A statement issued by the Chairman, Sultanate Advisory Committee on Religious Affairs, Professor Sambo Wali Junaid, said if sighted, the nearest village or district head should be contacted for onward communication to the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar. Now, individuals and groups have been challenged to organize activities that will help discover talents in the less privileged members of the society. The wife of former German ambassador to Nigeria, Mario Cecilia Toledo, said this while interacting with members of the Albino Foundation in Abuja. Basi Taipang has details.
Ambassador's wife said her interest in albinism started 9 years ago, when she observed that the challenges faced by albinos were not only peculiar in Nigeria, but the world over. Maria Cecilia, who is an opera singer, said she is in Nigeria to host a concert that is intended to bring out talent in the less privileged children in the society.
I will use every single event from now on to point that albinism
has to be taken seriously and has to be also be respected.
The founder of the Albino Foundation in Nigeria, Jack Epele, appreciated the ambassador's wife for her contribution to the growth and development of the foundation over the years.
Well, there's countless ways anybody who is passionate about albinism can get involved. Like I said, Cecilia's face is almost like an international advocate. So there's a whole lot that she can do. She's a woman with passion and has passion for this country.
Jake Pele has been appointed as a UN Albinism Ambassador. In Abuja, Basita Ikpang, NTA News.
Sports now, as stakeholders set agenda for Super Eagles coach Sunday Olise as to seeded golfer Chase Glory at the 14th British Open. Kene Imabudike has more on Sports Update.
Following the unveiling of Sunday Olise as the new coach of the Super Eagles, stakeholders have been speaking on their expectations. While some respondents are calling for caution in team selection, others say he should restore winning mentality in the national team.
And let the action on the pitch speak for itself. And we should try, in the part of the Nigerian Football Federation, not to put unnecessary pressure on him.
He said anyone that is not playing in the big leagues cannot play for the national team. Well, that's his pattern, but we all know that he might not be right at all times, because there could be some players who is not had that opportunity to play for the big leagues, and they are quality players.
Meanwhile, contrary to rumors circulating in some quarters that the National Sports Commission was instrumental to the sacking of the erstwhile coach of the Super Eagles, Stephen Keshi, Director General of the Commission, Al-Hassan Yakmut, says the Commission serves as a conveyor belt for sports development in the country and has no hands in the selection of coaches for national teams. Yakmut spoke in Abuja midweek while receiving the newly unveiled Super Eagles coach, Sunday Olise.
When the Commission mentioned due process, the Commission has no technical authority to select a coach. The only institution in Nigeria that is qualified to pick up a coach for Nigeria in football is the Nigerian Football Federation.
The 144th edition of the British Open Golf Championship teed off Thursday at St Andrews with the absence of the injured defending champion and world number one Rory McIlroy. Few players made impressive starts on round one. Jordan Spieth, who is chasing a third successive major in the year, will go tops in the rankings if he clinches a club jog on Sunday. With Sports Update, Kenan Imabudike, NTA News.
And next is Friday's weather forecast. That concludes the news on NTA International. My name is Ifeanyi Okafor.